Many of you know about the microbiome of your own gut, but have you considered that it might be mirroring the health of the Earth's microbiome? And both are affecting our ability to evolve consciously? I'm Julie Ciela, your host of We Are the Soil, where we have conversations around where gut health meets spirituality. Hello, Dr. Jaffe.
Hi, Julie. How are you doing?
I'm well. How are you today?
I'm well. Can you hear me okay? Do I need headphones? How does it feel?
No, it sounds great, and we're already recording,
All right.
so
Sounds good.
we're going to jump right in.
Do it.
I'm so excited to talk to you today.
So excited
I
to be here.
obviously loved the interview that we did for your podcast,
Yes.
but I thought we would switch gears a little bit today and talk a little bit about what keeps you grounded as a father, as a husband. I know that you're a businessman, you're a PhD, you juggle lots of things, and you have overcome so much in your life. And I know that the viewers that are listening will be very interested to hear not just your pitch on your hero program. We know that's awesome, but also, just on a personal note, like what your day-to-day looks like. You share a lot on social media. I love what you do share and, the work that you and Sophie do. But I just want to talk a little bit about, from more of a gut
Yeah.
instinctual,
Sure.
like basics, things that people could really use and understand how you were able to go from being a meth addict, correct?
Yep.
And to being this incredible coach. And obviously none of us are perfect. I'm sure, if you're anything like me, you still have your daily struggles that, we do the best that we can, but
Right. Yeah.
I'm just interested in talking about, are you aware of any of the old subconscious patterning that maybe kept you in that circle of shame?
Always aware. Always
Yeah.
aware.
And in how much of it still, like, how much do you still hear that voice? And if you do, what are some of your practices that help you to stay grounded?
Wow. Okay. I love it. We get to dig right in.
Yeah, let's not waste
So
time.
yeah. So a couple of things. First of all, yes, I'm fully aware of those voices. I wish I could tell you that they have disappeared from my life. They haven't.
Me too.
I specifically now just have so many practices in place to keep them at bay literally from the moment I wake up. And
Mhm.
if I'm perfectly honest, I'll take everybody through what I do and the system I develop them through and everything else. But it's an ongoing work in progress. So I'm constantly figuring out new ways and better ways and more efficient ways to do some of these things. So
I feel you.
you mentioned that I was addicted to meth, and I was. I used to live a life where I was constantly enveloped by self-doubt and negative thinking. My perspective on the world was that misery was the standard, and everybody that pretended that it wasn't was lying. I really didn't see much happiness exist anywhere, and it's therefore
Was
not.
that from your childhood? I mean, do you mind like diving in a little bit as to where you might have developed that core belief? Let's talk a little bit about your background
Yeah, I
to
mean,
and
no,
how
I
it might
was
have
anxious.
informed it, or.
I was anxious from a very young age. I don't
Mm,
really know why, to be perfectly honest.
okay.
Everybody on the outside told me life was really good and looked like I was doing really, really well, but inside I was
Hmm.
always very anxious and felt like I didn't fit in.
Okay.
Um, Parents stayed married. A lot of fighting when I was younger, but they stayed married. I lived in the same apartment my whole, like a lot of the traditional trauma stuff just didn't happen to me. I had
Hmm.
this proclivity to feeling like I didn't quite fit in, and that lasted a very, very long time. And I would have anxiety. I didn't know it at the time, but I would come home with stomach aches,
Mm.
and everybody was trying to figure out where they came from, but they were just stress induced. They were just anxiety and stress induced as early as
The
8 and 9 years old.
the
Uh,
belief of separation, I mean, from an early age.
yeah, I mean, my mom worked full time. My dad worked full time. I was a latchkey kid, definitely on my
Hmm.
own a lot.
Yeah.
And long story short, it's just that was my identified way of being at a very, very early age. Now, of
Mm.
course, there are reasons. I just don't know what they are. I wasn't wasn't conscious enough, or I don't have memories that can really drive a true understanding of it. But that was my reality, and I kept working that reality until I kept running and running from my feelings, first into alcohol, and that made me better able to function around other people. Then weed came in, then coke and other drugs, and eventually meth. And meth and drug dealing gave me a lot of that status and a lot of the, I don't want to say comfort, but that you know the acceptance within my friend group that I was always seeking. It just also brought on a life that was a nightmare.
The
And
stroke of the ego, right?
yeah, I mean, there's not much that people who are regular drug users like more than when their drug dealer shows up. And so it gave me real standing. and
Yeah.
and so that was kind of where the peak of my drug use took me. But what I then had to do pretty heavily on the way out was really very systematically figure out, okay, what isn't working?
Mm-hmm.
How do I make it better? And what I learned actually along the way also is, how do I accept it as a part of myself? So it ignited, and this isn't a pitch for the program. It's just, this is what I do. And so
Go for it.
it's just what I do in my life.
I'm
That's how
just
I
teasing
developed the
you. Yeah.
program. And the three principles we work by is honest exploration, radical acceptance, and individualized transformation. And the idea is, if you're having a problem, stop trying to solve it. First, figure out what it is. So don't run around trying to fix all your problems. They are, especially mental health and kind of internal struggles, they are signals your brain and your body are sending you that something is off. Be quiet and listen. You will learn a lot about yourself. Then next up is acceptance of those things. Don't run away from your shadows. They are a part of you. You cannot run away from them. Learn to accept them before you can transform them. So
Yeah.
so in my own life, for instance, I was sober for about 3 years and enjoyed the sobriety, and I went back to school, and that was all well and good. But I learned a lot. I learned a lot about psychology, a lot about neuroscience. And one of the things that I really came to believe was that the entire concept of powerlessness around recovery is just wrong. It's just that we're all very powerful beings, actually, and that admitting you're powerless over something, and I don't mean that we're gods. You're not all powerful, but you have more power in your head than you realize. Most of us do. And my job then became to hone in on that power, identify its limits, and then refine it as well as I could. So obviously, a lot of the self-work for me went right back to those same reasons why I was using in the first place. That self-loathing, the negative feelings about self, the anxiety, deep connection to lack of abundance, and this
Scarcity.
this feeling that I might lose everything any given
Right.
day. I come from a Holocaust family as well, so that could be like epigenetic reasons in there. And week by week, month by month, definitely year by year, and decade by decade, I started putting into play practices that would allow me to shift that scarcity mindset and to find success even in incredibly small ways. And now, in my life now, my day starts at 5:30, about an hour to an hour and a half before everybody else in the house wakes up. And the reason I do that is I need that hour for myself. You're asking on the front end. Those
Yeah.
voices of, oh, come on, don't do this. This isn't right for you. You're trying too hard. You're working too much. You're blah, blah, fill in your whatever your version
Exactly.
of this is. They're there the moment I open my eyes. It's just that right after I open my eyes, I have the next set of practices. And those are my 5-minute journal, filling myself with water that I've been dehydrated from all night. Then I prepare for my work day. Then I move. I exercise for almost a full hour every day. And then I make coffee for Sophie and I, and get the kids breakfast and ready for school. And from 5:30, that takes me almost to 7:30. It's almost a full 2 hours of preparation for my day. And
Sounds vital.
it is absolutely crucial. And it's so crucial that unless, like even on nights sometimes where we stay up till 12:30, 1 o'clock, I'll still wake up at 5:30. If I push it, it's like 6, because I know I need that time
Right.
for self. And if I just break it down a tiny bit, I use a 5-minute journal in order to kind of connect to gratitude every
Mhm.
single morning.
Yeah, I've seen your journal. It's amazing.
Yeah, I use it every day, and I kind of people started telling me that they like, even if they can't do it themselves, they like using my 5-minute journal gratitude as a way to connect to their own.
Right.
Um, but really, I've spent probably the first 15 to 30 minutes of my day away from my phone. I don't look at emails and texts and all those things until after my almost at least hour of preparation,
Hmm.
and connecting to what I already have and I'm grateful for, what I want out of my day and what would bring me success and make me feel like the day went well. And then recently I've added to that indicators. I'm always still working on abundance. So working on indicators of abundance in my life that are currently here. What is showing me that I'm already abundant?
Mm,
Um, and then this is work that I do with a lot of men around identifying feelings and getting more connected to talking about emotions. A lot of the
yes.
men that I work with have a hard time with. So I have a feelings wheel on my background on my phone and my laptop, and every day I've spent time looking at it, feeling deeply and being mindful and saying, what are 3 or 5 feelings that really connect to the way I am right now,
Mm.
so that I can become more well versed in my own emotional vocabulary.
And it sounds like you're probably looking at those thoughts and distinguishing, is this a self-sabotaging thought from like old programming,
Mm,
or is this like a viable feeling, right? I mean, are you
yeah,
distinguishing like, what's old patterning and what is true?
I uh, I am, and not
Hmm.
only am I distinguishing, but also one of the things that I've learned and am pretty good at by now was not true a decade ago, but I've gotten very good at by now is I don't really allow for plainly negative feelings in
Yeah.
the equation, if that makes sense.
You just don't tolerate them.
Well, I always understand that they're not standalone. They come from something. They have a meaning behind them, and so I dive in again, right, on this exploration. Why is that
Hmm.
happening for me right now? And it
Yeah.
may be, here's the thing that a lot of us don't give credence to often enough. We give so much weight to the feeling itself that we don't wonder where it came from. And so
Hmm.
I could have had an awkward night with my wife the night before.
Hmm.
And now I'm sitting at my desk prepping for the day and just feeling off. I'm feeling confused or disillusioned. I'm feeling frustrated or annoyed. And if I don't do the mindful act of
Yeah.
wondering, when did this start? Why am I feeling this way? I may
Hmm.
I may make it about self, right? I may start saying, well, you're doing it because you're not succeeding enough, or doing it
Mm.
because you're actually a piece of what, and you just suck and you're
Hmm.
pretending to everybody else. I
The shame.
my yeah, which is a big part of our motto here is F shame.
Right.
And
Yes.
that's why is those old feelings would always feel connected to who I am as a human versus what's happening in my life. And if I can sit there
Ah.
in the morning and go, oh, I'm frustrated because last night, uh, maybe Sophie will listen to this. Last night, maybe I wanted to be intimate with my wife and I wanted us to kind of have some alone time, and we just didn't have a chance. The kids were everywhere, and we just need to go to sleep, and she was tired, right?
Hmm.
If I can make that connection, say, oh, I'm actually just frustrated about a thing that happened. That makes sense. I can connect the dots. It
Hmm.
truly removes the need for negative self judgment and for that shame that was so omnipresent in my life.
Mm. I resonate so much with what you're saying. I started meditating early on in my life from a pretty traumatic childhood, and the lesson of I am not my thoughts, I
The
am not my
observer.
feelings. I am bigger than that. I am the one that's watching my thoughts. I'm the one that's experiencing the feelings, but I am not that.
Yeah.
It took, I mean, and to have that lesson taught to me at 19 years old, I
Mm.
believe is really what saved my life. It's not like, I achieved enlightenment at age 19 or anything like that by any means. Trust me, I
How
went
old were
through
you when you
a lot
achieved
after that.
enlightenment?
Ah, that's hilarious. Um,
I'm still working. I'm
yeah,
still working on it.
yeah, I'm a work in progress, and honestly, I feel like the more you strive for certain things, the more they elude you.
The
So
more
I
you
don't even
know, the
try
more
any.
you know you don't know.
you know what, if I want a drink, I have a drink. If I want to smoke some weed, I smoke some weed. That's where I'm at in my life. And I'm not going to apologize to anybody because I know, you know, what I'm capable of, and I know what, you know, holds me back. I'm aware of all those things, and I think that's what you're describing whenever you talk about the powerlessness of certain addiction recovery programs. And that's frankly why I gravitated to you so
Mm,
much in your work, because, you know, at Firm Fatale, yeah, I have a probiotic mocktail company, and definitely am, you know, encouraging people to find as much moderation in their life. And here's some options for you
sure.
to help you to navigate that. But at the end of the day, I'm not preaching a sober program over here,
Yeah. Yeah. And
because you know, I don't feel like it's truly, I mean, maybe it's realistic for some people, but you know, for me personally, I never have been able to maintain a sober lifestyle, not because I'm not capable, it's because I fucking don't want to.
well, and that's where the power of peace comes in, right? And I think,
Yeah.
look, I think there's a danger for all of us the
Mm-hmm.
moment we start accepting powerlessness,
Yes.
just in life. Because if when you accept that you're powerless over something, by the way, being powerless over an inane object, a chemical, is just ridiculous to me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I'm powerless over forces in the universe. I can't control or uh,
Anybody.
truly understand some of the deeper like nuances of the cosmos and what's created it, and all that is well and good. I'm also, I guess, in some ways powerless over gravity, but that doesn't mean I can't fly, right? So it's like
Right.
there, it's just the notion of powerlessness to me is the absolute wrong direction to go in. And again, I'll speak for just both my own experience and the experience of hundreds and hundreds of people I've worked with by now. I'm a guy who was facing, 13 to 18 years in prison. Everybody in my life 20, 25 years ago would have told you I'm going nowhere and I'm going
Mm.
to end up dead or in prison for the rest of my life. And that's just not the way things turned out. Now, did I fully control every aspect of what happened after? No, I did not. But did my stern belief in self and my ability to change the direction of my life have something to do with me getting here? 100%. And
Absolutely.
and to this day, when I wake up in the morning, literally this morning, it was 5:30 in the morning when I woke up, and I was just tired. And the first thought in my head was, "Man, I'm getting too old for this. I just can't wake up this early." Da 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 da. And then, as if, as if by design, because it is, um, I went and I got my clothes on for the workout, and I walked and I turned the light on in the bathroom because it helps me kind of like wake up a little bit as Sophie's still
Mhm.
sleeping. And I started brushing my teeth and I just did the things I do every day. And within 5 minutes, I just wasn't that tired. By the time I got downstairs, I was ready to do my 5-minute journal. And
Mhm.
it's all good, right? It's so there's a judgment. What you talked about in mindfulness is known as the observer effect, right?
Mhm.
And if I can just go into it for a second, there's something unique as far as we know about our experience here on earth, and that is we think about our thoughts.
Mhm.
And if you stop and just ponder that for a second, you will realize therefore, well, like I'm holding a pen in my hand right now and I'm holding it, I'm looking at it, I can turn it, I can look at it from different directions. And because the pen is in me in some ways, right, the light reflecting off of it is in my eye and then in my brain, it's being processed, but I'm observing the pen. I'm looking at it. And I'm looking at it from all different angles, and I can consider it and see what it means and use it in ways that I want to. Well, you do the same thing with thoughts. It just you
Mhm.
normally don't stop to appreciate your thoughts and feelings. Most of us just follow them. Oh, I don't like this person. That must mean they're not good for me. Oh,
Yep.
I'm not. I failed at this math problem. That might mean I'm not good at math. But the fact that you can sit there and go, oh, I I took a math test and the professor reviewed it and they came back and I'm looking at it and I got 5 out of 10 right. So there's half of the stuff that I already know and half of it that I don't. And what does that mean about my ability to understand math? And you can kind of just the fact that you can ponder those thoughts
Mhm.
means that they are outside of you somehow.
Exactly.
They're something you're incorporated into your reality right now, but you are not them, as you mentioned. And
Mhm.
everybody needs to understand the power of that because you don't give it enough power. Here's the thing. if these are the thoughts you're having now and they're creating a life you don't like, change the thoughts. And if
Exactly.
you change the thoughts, you will change the experience you have in everyday life. But I'll tell
Hmm.
you, if somebody listening right now is working on recovery, you want a damaging thought, I have a disease that can never be fixed and will always get worse and I'm powerless over it. That sounds to
Hmm.
me like a damaging thought around drinking. Um,
Yeah.
I don't know how you turn that into something empowering unless you're willing to give up your power to somebody else. And that's fine if that's what you're into. But I have learned over and over that if you actually say to yourself, you know what? I've given up my power to alcohol in some ways. I've given up my power to drugs in some ways, but I'm not powerless over them. I can take my power back anytime I'm motivated enough and feel strongly enough about it. Then the question is not, can I do it? Let that question go. Yes, you can do it. The next is, how do I do it? And now you're getting into logistics, you're getting into tools, you're getting into more specific things. That's, what kind of meditation do I want? How do I want to express gratitude every day? Who do I want to surround myself with? All
Hmm.
those things now
You're
become
talking about action.
taking action. Exactly.
Hmm. Yeah. Today's such a pivotal astrological time around Saturn. And anyway, I don't want to go into a big astrology thing right now, but today, interestingly, is a day where the planets are actually supporting us taking action
Mm,
coming out of this new moon. And you know, besides your morning ritual, I'm just wondering, are there practices even that you do throughout the day that help you to stay grounded, you know, even as a father? You
there
know,
are
I'm
there are
sure you're an
practices.
amazing father because you have all these things to share that you've learned, and your kids are absolutely gorgeous, by the way.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm just wondering, like, are there any other um, things that you do throughout the day? Everyone's probably looking for, well, what are the action
So
steps here, right?
sometimes the practices are daily, but one of the things that I found recently that has been a revelation for me is some of the actions are more seasonal.
Mm,
I'm not, I'll be very frank, I'm not as good outside of what I am used to do. I'm a creature of habit. So I'm not as good outside of the habits that I already have in place at
mm-hmm,
paying attention to other pain points and noting them. And so they do build up. And what I've noticed, and an experiment I took on last year, right when COVID started, and will continue for the rest of my life probably, is I did a silent retreat for the first time.
mm.
And that was, I talk for a living. So I either talk or listen, right? I'm a coach. So I'm either talking to somebody or I'm listening to what they have to say all day, every day. And having 4 days, 3 nights, 4 days of almost complete silence around me was immeasurably powerful. It would be hard for me to
Mm.
explain how powerful it was. So that was one thing, and I will
You don't have to
continue.
tell me. I've done 9, 10 days.
Love it. Yeah, you're doing full on Vipassana. Yeah,
Vipassana, yeah, I've been
I'm not
involved.
quite there yet, but
You're ready.
I'm
You're
getting there.
ready.
I'm getting there. Well, I also have 3 kids, so
Exactly.
me leaving my house for 10 days is a very big undertaking. But
I'm
I
interested to hear, yeah, like what you came back with.
well, the first thing I came back with is a real appreciation for. I had this got this analogy of my life in an oversimplified way, and it was this, in life it's like, remember those old offices, if you like ever watch Mad Men, or if
Yeah.
you're in my age group, you
Yep.
remember the times where, like, you would have a secretary's desk and there would be an inbox and an outbox, literally, right? Like,
Yep.
not an email system, an actual inbox and outbox. And they would get everybody would drop files and paperwork, whatever, in the inbox, and the secretary's job is to take the stuff from the inbox, put it on the desk, solve it, fix it, address it, and then put it in the outbox.
Yes.
What I realized in my 4 day meditation, which, by the way, on day one, I thought I was taking on too long of a thing, was trying to excuse why I should only do 3 days and then 2 days, because it was scary. It was
So
really, really,
typical.
really, really scary for me.
Yeah,
I
I'm so proud of you.
What I realized was my inbox had gotten so filled that even when there was nothing else coming into my inbox, it was going to take me apparently days to unravel everything that was in there. So for the first 2.5 days, I was still dealing with thoughts, feelings, memories, etc., that just needed to be processed. Um, and it's only on the fourth day, really, sitting there with my coffee in the morning, overlooking the mountains, and like gazelles would come, and birds and
Wow.
rodents would just kind of be there on the hilltop right next to where the place was. It's only on that day that I felt like, for the first time, there was not enough noise in my brain to block what was around and outside of me. I hadn't had that silence in so long. And what I
Mm.
got was information, even about work and even about my personal life. It just information was being like auto fed. Like it's as if my creativity was finally able to connect to the real world, right? It wasn't processing old junk anymore. And that was a
Mm.
very beautiful experience to be part of.
Yeah, and it kind of reminds me of the BS that we're fed with religion about, like praying to a guy up in the sky, or some dude had to die on a cross for us to, have
Yeah.
eternal life, or just like I grew up as a born again Christian, so I was forced
Mm,
to go door to door and save people as a child.
all
Um,
right.
so I called BS on it really early, but what the point I'm trying to make is that, we are fed in society these thoughts and ideas, these core beliefs that limit us from the belief that we have every answer inside of us. We're taught and we're fed through the media every day that you need something outside of
Yeah.
you in order to fix you because you're damaged, or that you're just not enough, period. And
True.
it makes me think of this story I used to tell whenever I taught yoga. Taught for a long time, but I would sometimes leave the class by telling this story, on the when God created. So it's just a parable, but when God created the earth on the seventh day, he said, well, the only thing I have left to do is I need to figure out where I'm going to put myself.
Mm,
And one wise man said, "Oh, I've got a place. You should go to the top of the Himalayas in the mountains." And the other wise man's like, "No, no, I know the deepest place underwater." And
mm.
God said, "Actually, I figured it out. I'm going to put myself in the center of every one of their hearts because they'll never find me there." And it's because, we're driven by
Get
our
so
ego.
distracted and so all
Yeah, we're
over.
driven
Yeah.
by our ego. We think that we are our car. We think that we are our job. We think that we are our primary relationship,
Yeah.
and we get confused and, like you said, distracted and we tend to believe this shit, and then we wonder why we're not happy.
Yeah.
And,
Absolutely.
unless and until we come back to that, which is I think the message that you're really trying to highlight here, to the where the true power comes from, is the realization that I am God. God exists inside of me, or
Mhm.
consciousness, or whatever you want to call it, the force, whatever you want to call it. But that power, you
I'm reading
experienced
this
it.
book that talks about his infinite intelligence, and I like that. I actually hate the word God. I'm from Israel, and religion was around me my whole
Yes.
life growing up, and I mean, it sounds like it's the same as for you. I have a real negative taste in my mouth from the word
Hmm.
God.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Um, and this word that is repeatedly used in this book is infinite intelligence, and I like it
Mm.
because you know what? It doesn't matter where it comes from and who believes in it and who doesn't. It is clear. I used to call it nature and the universe. It is clear that there's a bigger thing operating here than us, right? And
Mm.
whether it's just I'm putting just in air quotes as if it's literally just the laws of nature and the cosmos. I mean, it is unfathomable what's happening here. Like,
Yes.
if you stop for a moment, just watch one of like the universe movies or Planet Earth, or like, and just literally give yourself the ability to be in awe of what's
Mm.
happening around every day. And we're worried about what fucking car we're driving.
Exactly,
What?
exactly.
Like,
Well, you got a taste of that on your day 4, of like, I am infinite intelligence, and that creativity and that flow and that peace of mind that you were feeling, that hopefully you get, tastes of daily. I hope, that for everybody, but
yeah,
that really is what we are. And
yeah,
it's
no,
it's the
absolutely,
removal of all the stuff. It's the removal of all these veils and these layers that we've compounded upon ourselves. And I love your work so much around shame, because I mean, I really feel like that is the veil,
well,
that
it's just so
if it
sad.
can be
Like,
pierced,
it's so
it's
sad.
like there's
Sophie
so much
does this
freedom
work
on
with a
the other
lot of
side.
Sophie does this work with a lot of women who, you know, are obsessed about what they put in their body, the food they eat, etc. And by the way,
Yeah.
it is important to feed your body the good stuff, right? Because it's
Hmm.
your temple and your, I mean, look at this creation. It's just like, it's just insane that this thing exists. Um, and so it is in some ways like my car, right? I try to take care of it so it can take care of me, kind of a thing. But it's,
Yeah.
um, but the attachment we have to what it should be like and what it should
Mhm.
look like and what you should weigh and what you should blah blah blah, like all that stuff,
Exactly.
in many ways is a source of the problem, right?
Yes.
um like during COVID, I started exercising more than any time before, but actually the funny thing about it was the reason was actually very simple. I used to be part of a gym, um and the gym was 30 minutes, 40 minutes, well, 30 minutes away from my house, but with parking and all that stuff, I would have to drive and all that kind of stuff for 2 hours to work out for 30, 40 minutes. And so I just didn't do it. It was cumbersome.
Hmm.
Once I started doing it at home every day and it was just the actual act, I realized I don't need a $300 a month gym membership. I don't
Yeah.
need all the stuff that went along with it. I just want to exercise and feel good in my body.
Mm.
And I'm in the best shape that I'm 40, going on 45 any day now, and I'm in
Are
better
you a
shape than
Gemini?
no, I'm a Virgo. I'm a Virgo. I'm
Oh, okay.
I'm 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 moving on up. My daughter is a Gemini, and we have literally
Oh,
four of us in the family are summer birthdays. Everybody except for Sophie.
amazing.
Noah is
Lucky her.
June. We have one in July, and then two in August. And it's just my realization over and over and over is about this simplification of my needs
Hmm.
and the ability to turn inwards for the messaging about what it is that I should be doing. And you
Hmm.
mentioned it before, and so I'll just say it really quickly. The reason I'm so passionate about F Shame, the reason I'm so passionate about Hero and Ignited and all the work that we do is because my purpose is to help people who found themselves stuck in the same ways that I was before.
Yes.
And waking up every morning, I literally just right before we started talking, saw an email from somebody who was really, really grateful. Right, we have this like 14, 15-hour program. They were really, really grateful for this one meditation in this one uh, lesson that I offered. And it's so amazing to me always that in hundreds of things we offer, everybody always finds the little nuggets that matter to them. And that's what it's all
Yeah.
about. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. And I thank you so much for the work that you're doing, Dr. Jaffe. I hope that we can continue the F shame conversation.
Absolutely.
And I just thank you so much for being here today. So, folks, be sure to go to ignited dot, is it dot com?
Yeah, igntd.com. And let me
Mm-hmm.
actually, I'll give you guys a special secret. If you go to ignited.com/secret,
Mm.
there's a little exercise I have for everybody to look at what it is that they need to address in their own life to be able to live a happier life.
I love it because, half of our followers here at Firm Fatale are what they would consider sober. And
Got
the
it?
other half, the other half of our demographic are what would we consider sober curious or just not sober at all. And I believe that these lessons that you're sharing are relevant for everybody on the spectrum. So thank you again
Amen.
for that secret. I look forward to continuing the conversation with you, and may the infinite intelligence
Mm,
continue to stream from the top of your head down to the bottom of your toes so you can continue to be such a blessing on this earth. And thank you so much again, Dr. Jaffe.
thank you so much. And thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, talk soon. Bye bye.
Bye bye.